All right, welcome to another edition of the Eye on Life podcast, and we have a habit on the show. We have a trend on the show. We try to raise the bar as high as we can on each show. This show might be a little bit different. This show we're just going to try not to go too low on the show with the gentleman that we have in front of us, and I want to thank our very diverse panel of experts today. And again, follow us, like us, share us. The guys who are staring at us through their ugly mugs on here. They've all done it. One of them is actually the guy in the red here. Chris Bossert is actually our show sponsor, which we're going to get to in a second. It is go time, and the theme of our show today is high school reunion. And I think wasn't there like a Disney thing, high school reunion or something like that? I thought there was. This is certainly doesn't have that nearly close to that kind of cachet. But I always find it fascinating when we talk about, friends who we've kept in touch with over the years. And it actually is very rare. And to get kind of serious for a second, it's rare, and it really is special when you can say that you've known somebody for, at this point, especially today, more than a few years, right? Because people come and go and things change, people change. The song too, right? Isn't it Mike Brown that people change? Isn't that Expose, right? Expose sings that song.
I think it might be. So, yeah.
I thought you'd be all over that, or Tim. So
no one's singing.
No singing. I was paraphrasing the song. What we decided to do is gather. What happens when our audience gets together with your closest friends, either currently or from college or high school, and probably only bad things can happen. Right? I mean, we're going to test that today. This is actually kind of like a test. We need like a petri dish or something. All the germs that are going on in this show right now. So we have four of us from high school that have known each other for, I don't even know, combined. I mean, Chris is wearing the color of our little red schoolhouse from nursery school. And we've all known each other, and we, believe it or not, we made a conscious decision to stay in touch. We've had our ups and downs as far as staying in touch and being good about it and not being good about it. But here we are. Literally almost 45 years later, which is pretty remarkable. And I guess time heals all wounds, because clearly Chris is with his sponsorship of the show, which I'm finally glad to have you on. So Chris, I want to thank you for your sponsorship. You and Monica, your lovely wife. I'd say you're lovely, but I'd be lying. I like to be authentic on the show. and so instead of me giving the website and telling us about the masks, which by the way, here they are. I got my samples again today, which I think I told you my kids. I'm not putting them on, but they are. They're probably backwards, right? Now, if you have friends like this, you actually you don't only want them muffled, but you want them completely muted. So Chris, tell us about your masks, your business, and how people can order, because the people who I know who have ordered from the show have absolutely loved them. They're so comfortable. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, thank you, Brian, for actually having us on. I'm not sure if you're going to thank us at the end of the show, but thank you for having us on at the beginning, at least. I'm definitely not thanking you at the end of the show. Okay, I didn't think so.
I mean, I might thank God that it's over, but that'll probably be about it. But anyway,
the sponsorship will be over too.
It might all come to an end. Go ahead.
Well,
Chris.
yeah. Well, that's the advantage of being on a payment program. So the Must New York was started in the spring of this year. We've been very fortunate to be producing masks, obviously, during the situation that we're in, the worldwide situation. But we make high quality masks that really can be customized. I mean, even look at this, we make these for teachers. And we've really, it's been great. In fact, now we're expanding into some sports where we have baseball, softball, whatever, basketball for people. We customize them, we put your name on them. So you can find us at mustnewyork.com. And, we can do whatever you'd like, to be honest. In fact, we have a sample for Brian for his show now that he will receive shortly. So
before I order those, I want to make sure I like it. Clear. No, I'm definitely ordering those. They really are amazing. We've had fun with it, but it's a serious thing. You're obviously, you guys are entrepreneurial, which I love. And the business is going really well. Out in Orchard Park, New York, there, home of Buffalo Bills, who are loving life these days, and Again, I appreciate the sponsorship, the friendship, and all the support that you've been giving me throughout this.
No, we're very glad to be a part of it. So,
let's keep it going. It is go time here, and class of 1993, which when you do the math, that really does seem like a long time. Well, it is a long time ago. It still doesn't feel like it's that long ago. The maturity level is still not quite where it should be, probably. And as I said, I do want to be very, very clear. So we graduated, which is, by the way, 1993 is the same class as 902, Beverly Hills 90210. So, and not the new one, the old one.
How are you shaking your head? All these guys know this. I'm like, really? Seriously? How would you know that?
You know it. Let's not pretend.
No, I don't.
Well, we've heard it on the show, Brian. I've heard this in one of your shows.
That's true.
Trust me, as we go on to the show here, 90210 is going to probably be the least embarrassing thing that we get to, Mr. Brown. So we have.
Fair enough. All right.
So we have. Let's just go there. So I do want to be very clear on a couple of things. So we graduated from Shenandoah High School. If you could say that 5 times fast, you were able to stay in the school. We graduated with about 600 kids, upstate New York, Clifton Park, just outside of Albany. And now, I do want to be clear on something, though, and I did make the joke. It wasn't the most diverse high school in the world. Clearly, the demographic that I have on here. There was some, but you guys just happen to be the friends. And so we have, I think we were called the 4 Bs at the time, because it was Mike Brown, Tim Burns, and Chris Blosser, Brian Boyer, and I think that was like we anointed ourselves that because we had nothing else to do with it.
Well, you know what caused that, Brian, was our lockers were together because everybody was alphabetical by locker and homeroom. So then those 3 years of high school, sophomore through senior year, we were always around each other, switch at locker change.
Yep.
So you bring up a good point. So we were sort of forced into that mix of getting to know each other.
Yeah, we wouldn't have chosen this.
We
would not have chosen. We would not.
Based on the personalities with us today, whenever you're listening, we may have. In fact, thank God, I don't think we were in too many classes. Well, Mike was. I think Mike and actually, I think you know what? I'm actually irritated now. I think all you guys were in the smart classes, and I wasn't. So I feel like I'm a little irritated about that. Although I did take some of those Syracuse classes, Tim. Just so you know.
Me too. Me too.
I know you did. You had to.
Project Advanced.
We're all over the place now. As far as our brains are all over the place. But we have Mike and Mike. You're in Iowa.
Yep.
So you probably feel right at home being with the diversity piece, I'm sure. And
I'm coming close to that one.
Now, Mike, you're kind of like. Do you guys ever watch Friends? You guys watch Friends, right? You're kind of
course. Yep.
Chandler.
You're the Chandler Bing of this.
Yes, I've heard that a bazillion times.
We have no idea what you do, but we know you do it well. Are you still an actuary? Is that what you're doing now?
I am still. Yeah, I'm an actuary, so I do retirement consulting for companies, and it's terribly exciting. I really enjoy it, actually. I mean, first of all, it's been fortunate because I've been able to work out of my home for the last 13 years, basically ever since my daughter was 6 months old. And, besides that, I get a chance to travel from time to time. I get back to Hartford every once in a while. I get to Chicago, both coasts. I do enjoy it because I get a chance to actually not just – a lot of times when you hear insurance people might be working in the background or whatnot, I actually work with clients quite significantly, and I enjoy the interaction of things. So I actually love my job.
And you have a beautiful family out there. We know that. Minus you, of course, but the rest of the family is beautiful.
Well, you know what? Listen, I traded up.
But in all seriousness, one of the nicest guys. I mean, in high school, you could not find anybody that did not know and love Mike Brown. It was. I mean, even to this day, people on.
I think he had 150 kids at his graduation party, as I remember.
In fairness, Brian, the kids that didn't like me, I killed. So they.
So. I think there was only one restraining order, and I think that was it. But that's not bad. That's.
There was one. There was one public restraining order.
Well, that's right. I think that was in the community news. I do remember that. But one of the nicest guys, one of the smartest guys you'll meet, and now Tim's had an interesting career. Tim is the media, right? Tim has always been a member of the media. We've had a lot of. I know we were just talking before we came on air here. The overnight shifts up in Albany. You were in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah.
It's one of those careers where you kind of start off in the smaller markets and worked your way all the way up. Obviously, with the talent they have, all the way up to Minneapolis, which is a much bigger market. But how did you graduated from Newhouse School at Syracuse? I don't know. I don't know if it was pity or you actually did well to get in, good enough to get in there. But you're on the producing side, but I know you're also in front of the camera as well. How has media changed for you from the days in Fort Wayne, where I remember you were driving, Midwest and through Buffalo up to upstate New York, and now how has media kind of changed for you in the way, in your lifestyle, the way you've been in Minneapolis, which has been a hotbed for a lot of the issues that have been going on? How has that been for you as far as your career goes?
The biggest change from starting in 1997 doing this to now is adding in social media in the late 2000s really changed things. It means even at 45 having to like learn TikTok and be up on Twitter and Facebook and really living on those social media ways to get news, find people, find stories. I probably know a lot more about social media than the average person my age. But yeah, it's been a fun ride, and adapting to it has been fun, and getting to work with a lot of younger people in media, because most people don't do this. They get out and go into communications like your field by the time they hit my age, but I still love doing it. And I love the drive of trying to put a good news product out there every day here in Minneapolis.
Well, Tim, I want to ask Brian, can I ask him a question just quickly?
You can ask him a question, but I have to take issue with something.
This is always bothered me. It's like all the time I see stories on like Yahoo or other places like that, and it's, people hated the new Kanye album because they can find 5 tweets from people that randomly said, "Oh, this album sucks" or whatever. Does that drive you nuts, being in the media? Because that's not really researching anything. You could find 5 tweets that are negative or positive about anything that goes on. Does that drive you nuts?
A little bit. The toughest part about the news is that it's subjective. So even within our newsroom, what one person thinks is news, somebody might not think the same thing. And then sometimes it's a tiebreaker that has to go to an upper level manager, whether we run a story or where it goes in the newscast or how much time it gets in a show, whether it's a quick mention or a full reporter does it. And social media has been very tough dealing with phone calls from people, especially in this environment that we're in, of people kind of coming at us and saying, "Well, I saw this on Facebook, so why aren't you reporting it?" Well, we have to check facts and do things like just verify things before we put them on TV. Yeah, that's what we actually do.
Wait a minute, what?
That's what we actually do in TV news. I know. It's hard to believe, but we actually do that.
Fact checker, right?
Yeah.
That person works about 1 hour
attribution, a week. That's called basic journalism, and that's what we do every day.
Well, so now that Mike spoke, of course, now I have to take issue with something that Tim said and what Mike said, because basically anything that comes out of Mike's mouth, I have to take issue with. You wouldn't be hard-pressed to find anything positive, Mike, on social media regarding Mike Brown. Sorry, I throw it out there. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's funny how it happened, because like in high school, everyone liked me, and then I got out of high school, and it just like, and actually I think it was social media that all of a sudden it flipped, and no one likes me. So, and that's fair.
We all got smarter. That was the problem.
Yeah, well, that's probably it.
We caught up. But that's a great question. It is a great question, Tim, because the thing I feel like social media, it sort of enables, I think, laziness almost, because to Mike's point, you do get to you kind of do. Are people actually looking any deeper than a tweet? In other words, even if the president or anyone else, right, an entertainer, if they tweet something which is a limited amount of characters, do they actually take that and say, "I'd like to research that a little bit more"? Or are they just saying, "Yeah, there you go. I think that's right." So that makes your job, I would think, harder, because you might have it's then put on you as the media to maybe dig a little bit deeper so people know the real story.
We grapple with that every day.
I'm sure
it's a constant struggle of dealing with, okay, let's just take what somebody said and try to fact check it and make sure it's real. And I know I went back to those 2 words, but it's really important. And we try to pride ourselves in doing that. And I know we get hit on by a lot of people saying, fake news. It's very tough and that's a very hard word for me to hear every day, but we deal with it, and we just try to get the facts and disseminate the factual information without the opinion. And then, but of course, just picking what stories is a story is subjective, and that's always going to keep happening.
Isn't that really about us? I mean, we love the sensationalism, right? I mean, it's become, why did everyone like the National Enquirer, right?
Yeah.
And it still exists.
Some people believe that, though.
What's that?
Some people do believe that the garbage that's in there. I mean, when the alien has some celebrity's baby, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they tweeted out and then half the country believes it.
Yeah.
No, but it's about ratings. It's about ratings. It's about getting attention. And, unfortunately, what I've seen in this media environment too often is that if enough people say something that may not be factual, it almost becomes fact at that point. to some people, not everybody. But you get this ball rolling where, okay, well, they said it, so it must be true, and they said it, so it's got to be true. And it just keeps flowing downhill, even though whatever is said or done may not be a fact. It may be just a rumor or whatever.
I think Seinfeld said, if I recall correctly, if it's not a lie if you believe it. So unfortunately, that does sometimes go a long way. And the more you hear about something, I mean, why are the Kardashians so huge? I mean, are they that entrepreneurial? Are they that great at business that they, or do
Yes. Yes, they are.
I guess maybe they are.
They own social media. Yeah, they own
it. Enough people bought in.
Right. I could tell you, I've never watched a single one of those episodes, but and I'm fascinated though because they're so savvy about it, right?
You didn't watch that on 2.0 either.
Chris is like, yeah, sure you haven't. Sure. But seriously, they're really savvy. I mean, so you have to give them credit for that at least.
Mike is at home. He's reading the Wall Street Journal. He's watching.
No.
He's not watching any of the garbage, right, Mike? Well,
I'm watching tons of. I watch my share of garbage. So,
listening to
Queensryche. Yes, Mike. Everybody needs to know Mike is the most diehard Queensryche fan in the history of the world.
I've matured a little bit.
Top 10.
I still enjoy them. Yes. Yep.
So,
how many of you did I drag to that concert?
You got dragged to that concert.
Yes. Yeah.
You dragged me to that concert.
Yep.
Great show, though.
What's
Great
that?
show. It was a great show. 8,000 people. I'll tell you. Couldn't even fill the Pepsi Arena. Whatever it was called back then, Knickerbocker Arena. Great show, though. So we have the financial guy who was the basketball player, the popular nice guy in high school. And when I say basketball player, I use the word player loosely. We know that.
Very.
Tim, I wanted to also bring up before we get to Chris here. Tim also. The weird thing is, I think each one of you were on one of my sports teams at one point. I think Mike was always the athlete guy. Tim, I know you were on my soccer team. I think like
rec soccer for sure. Yeah, soccer. The late '80s. Yep.
But you were a band guy, and I want to call out because you were in the Syracuse pep band when they won the national championship. Weren't you?
Lost to Kentucky, but yeah, the '96 Final Four. I was in the Meadowlands in New Jersey when they lost to Kentucky in '96. Yep. Well, so don't rip the band, guys. I got a free ride to go to the Final Four, and we got to go to every single game that year through the entire tournament. So
it was a
when people ripped the band, it wasn't a horrible clarinet. Yeah, that was not a horrible experience.
And you actually got more playing time than Mike did in high school, so we're all good there.
That's a fact.
Yeah, Mike was. In all seriousness, we joke. Mike was on the varsity team at a tremendous sports program. So that was great. And then Chris was.
That was
Chris
very hard
because he was running. Chris figured I'll be a runner because everyone's always running away from me. So I either need to chase them or I'll run away from other people that may actually want to hang out with me. So Chris was the runner. Maybe you still are, but Chris, I know you've always had kind of the entrepreneurial spirit. And again, I have a picture of you from the Little Red Schoolhouse with Mrs. Burke back in nursery school in Clifton Park. And so you went to Buffalo, University of Buffalo. Which was and you're still out in Western New York, which is awesome. I miss Buffalo sometimes, but we know you're the sponsor of the show, which I know is probably the highlight of your career, your life here. But that's not all you're doing. You're doing other things as well. What are some of the business items that you're doing these days?
Well, my real job is to I run apartment complexes. So about 10 years ago, I made a career change. I was in supply chain doing aerospace assembly lines and whatnot, and had an opportunity to go into what they call multifamily housing. And I've actually really enjoyed it. And in a sense, the way we run our businesses with my in multifamily, it is you're kind of your own boss. You're your own. It's your own little company, so to speak. You control revenue, you control profit, and whatnot. So that's been very rewarding, and I do that. I do enjoy that a lot, as long as I don't get people like Mike as my residents. So it makes it a little easier.
I think they have special housing for people like that, away from
bars, many bars,
men, women, and children. Yes.
Yes.
No former Hawkeyes. No former Hawkeyes. None there.
On Buffalo.
I didn't realize George Kittle was a former Hawkeye.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. I looked him up. You guy's unbelievable.
He's amazing.
No, he is.
So Chris, you're doing again, mustny.com. Get these puppies right here. It'll not only will protect you from COVID. Hopefully I don't know if we know that for sure. But at the very least, it will muffle people that you don't want to hear from. No, Mike, I'm not putting it on right now.
Yeah.
Let's see if you
Well, Brian, what it is as one of you, as your sponsor, I do need to advise you on how to wear a mask properly. And so if you're going to show it on air, you might want to put it up, not have it upside down.
Is it this way? The apple goes to the. Well, you're talking about being my sponsor. I'm not an AA here. Let's be very clear. When you say the sponsor, you have to say sponsor of the show. I mean, come on. Nobody's even drinking here. And I want to just be very clear here on something else, because we're going to switch topics here in a second. These guys are acting all cerebral, okay? We're talking about the media, and we're getting deep about the media, the culture. Let's not pretend here, okay?
No.
This is not, they are cerebral when they want to be. They're actually very smart, intelligent guys. They have families, they have beautiful families, beautiful kids. But I want to just touch on a couple of things here.
Oh boy.
I do want to go back to social media first off. And before we get to the real fun stuff, I do want to ask you guys a question. Because I opened up the show talking about, keeping in touch with people. And as I said, it's been 45 years. There's been some on and off, but here we are, right? Which is pretty remarkable. So I always wonder, how does one sustain those kind of friendships, those kind of relationships over the course of years? Obviously, there's a certain amount of tolerance, but as I said, really, people do change. And I'm going to ask each one of you, and I will start back up with, this is like the Brady Bunch here with the show here. He's clearly not the youngest one in curls. He doesn't have enough hair. But nonetheless, but I want to ask you, Mike, first off, for you, and kind of in a nutshell, guys, what makes you decide to want to stay in touch with someone over the years? And it doesn't have, I'm not even talking about us. I'm saying in general, people that you've been friends with over the years. And also, how do you feel like you've changed most since those days roaming the halls of Shen? Because you really do seem like the same genuine guy. You really all do. But how do you feel like you've changed since that? And why still hang out with people that you've known for so long?
I'll start. I was always hopeful that I would be on a podcast someday. So finally, now I can dump you guys. I can now get rid of you. So life checklist number 1, it's achieved. We're done.
I have listeners in Iowa. I will stalk you.
Yeah, that's fair. I just, for lack of a better term, I love you guys. I mean, you guys meant a lot to me as when I was, growing up. Brian and Chris, we'd lost touch a little bit at that point, but Brian and Tim were in my wedding party. Tim's the godfather of my daughter. And for me, it was always important to stay in touch with, a lot of people that I really had a lot in common with that I could relate to. It is, we've moved around some, and that at times becomes difficult to, form tight friendships at some points. But for me, it was really about having people I can, talk to, rely on, people that get me, know me for what I am. Even if I say the wrong thing, they aren't going to chastise me. So I think, but as I've grown up, how have I changed? Really, I've become that much more family oriented. I work from home. I want to be around my kids a lot. I love my kids. We enjoy doing things as a family. It's so much more rewarding than I ever thought it could be. And I had put it pretty high up there. That was one of the most important things for me, was to have a good family around me. And to me, I don't know that I've changed in that perspective. I just have grown to appreciate how much it really means to me, how important they are to me, how important they are in my life, how I can rely on them, how they can rely on me. I just love being around them. And if I think about kind of going back to where we started, for you guys, I grew up with all of you. We've always gotten along, always had a lot of great times. And, I know that I can rely on you for an open ear, to talk through things, for a good laugh. So, when we do occasionally get together, I love seeing you guys. I miss you in between. That's it in a nutshell.
I think that's awesome. I think you raise a really good point, because I think that one of the pieces of our friendships, and I think this is I think this would probably be across the board if you ask most people. There's a mix here because you just got a little serious there, which is awesome, and we're gonna have a little serious and we're gonna have mix it up a little bit, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a good mix. You can't you have some friends. They serve a certain purpose. That's the friend I can go out and have a drink with and just laugh with. But I'm probably not sharing my issues with them. But that's the person I might share some of my personal life, but they're really not. I mean, I'm probably not drinking with them. Not that it also be about drinking, but you know what I mean. There's a mix there, and it's kind of like almost like they offer a little bit of everything. Tim, we talked about social media before, and social media makes it convenient
for sure.
People, but I also think that and this might be pie in the sky kind of hokey. I believe that you guys, we'd be friends even if there wasn't social media. We'd be pen pals or whatever. But Tim, as far as you go, how have you changed over the years? And what kind of keeps you coming back to the friends that you have these days? Whether it's these schmoes here on the camera tonight or anyone else,
I think it's just reaching out. Keeping it alive is the connection alive, bit by bit. Even if it's a couple of months, even if it's several years, never closing that door or holding a grudge due to just somebody maybe not being in a place in their life where they can connect with people. They just got too much going on, raising a family or something, but never holding a grudge and saying, well, I'm not going to answer the phone if that person reaches out to me. That's something I would never just shut the door on somebody if they just got too busy. They'll find their way back to me. That's an old Michelle Branch song from O2. There you go. That's as obscure
Nice.
as it gets, I
There
think,
you go.
music-wise. But find your way back to me. And I think that's the way, we've reconnected. It's been a gap of years. As for change, I like to think I'm the same person over time, but I guess, I became a dad later in life than you guys, but I enjoy it, and that's a priority for me, and being there for my kids who are a little younger than your guys' kids. But I like to think I'm the same person and have not evolved too much. I'm mature.
You haven't. You haven't. No,
I think I'm pretty much the same person from 93. Because I never was a crazy, selfish person, I don't think, and I like to think I'm not that way now. But that's my take.
Say the reason Tim brings up the fact that he had kids later in life, that's why he still looks so young and not quite as weathered as some of us do. But you've always had that youthful look. I swear, when I saw you, we were talking, we connected several months ago. We did the Zoom thing, and I looked at these guys, and literally, it's like, holy, they really do look the same. It's kind of scary. I don't know. Maybe that's the kids, the youthful, or maybe my eyes are just getting worse. I don't know.
My wife is 8 years younger than me, so maybe I gotta just keep that youthful look,
Well, good luck with that as the kids get older.
Yeah.
Chris, you've always, there's been some crazy times that we've had, and I haven't quite got. Well, here we go now. Okay, guys, here we go. So there have been several times where we've embarrassed each other, but all in fun. Again, it's all in fun. It's never malicious. It's always fun. Even when sometimes you're in a bad mood, and when you guys are busting balls or whatever, it actually makes me feel better. I love that. It's actually funny. Chris has done some things. He's jumped on a stage to. I don't know if he was trying to hug Little Richard or whatever he was trying to do with Little Richard, but he did do that at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. We all have backstory. We all have Saratoga Performing Arts Center stories. Mike and I worked there together. Tim and Phil Collins.
Many concerts. Yep, many concerts
there. Chris, I won't even get into some of the things Chris did before he went into the concert. The concerts that we've gone into. But
you were there with me. You were there with me.
I was watching.
Do not pin me up on the wall.
Let me just say that we went to see Dave Matthews one year, and let me just say that Dave Matthews was not the most entertaining part of the show. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Mike Cassidy was on the show a while back. We already talked about his jaunt with the drunk guy in the waiting pool there. So he got it worse than you guys are getting it so far. Chris, I feel like I have to be honest with you. In the time that we have reconnected here, you literally, I don't feel like you've changed, and I say that in a good way. Maybe I don't know. You still have that spirit, that fun. You're funny. You have to make those jokes. We all crack up and stuff. How have you changed, and why keep in touch with people? What makes you keep coming back? And again, it's not just about us. It's anybody that you've kept in touch with over the years.
Well, I got to be honest. So I don't know that I've necessarily changed inside, but I know the four of us kept in contact a lot. And then and not, I think it was after college, and whatnot. Being honest, I kind of disappeared for a while. Okay. And, right or wrong, it was partially maybe the relationship that I was in. I was sheltered for a long time, even to a degree, even from my own family. And when I made a life decision, it was back in 2014, I got reinvigorated in a sense, okay? Because inside I was always the same person, but I was handcuffed, so to speak, let's say, for many years. So as time went on, and I felt like, hey, I want to kind of get back to who I was in a sense, the positive power of social media enabled us to get back together. I think it was Tim and I first, and then Mike came on to social media later. And then, of course, Brian, you were the most recent person. And it enabled us to reconnect, catch up, because really, in the end, I think we're all kind of the same people. We have different lives in a sense in that, all four of us have children. All four of us have careers. We're in different, areas of the country, but I think we're all kind of the same person. We have our little differences that make every group has little things that bring you together, because if we were all the same, we'd be very boring. And so our connection, I don't think, is any different than it was 20 years ago. It's just now we're older, and we have different things in our lives, but we're still, I still think at the core we're the same. So this has been great for me, where not just for the four of us, it was about a year ago now, Mike, Tim, and I got together, and to be honest, we were all like, hey, we need Brian.
Yep, that's totally true.
Yeah, and
that is not true at all. That's not true. That's no. It's true.
Yeah, well, that's because your wife pulled you away during the game to wonder why she wasn't there.
That's true too.
Yes,
that's also true.
But what the point is that we were wondering where you are, and now we're together, and now actually, as we've talked, we have a chat where we are constantly talking about different things, sports, life, whatever it is. And so we're reconnected the most probably than we ever have been in many, many years. And it's great. It's good to talk to people, get different perspectives. I guess, the hair jokes are kind of old, but by the way, I do have the best of the four of you. So, but it's
just ask him how good his hair is.
He does win. He wins. I mean,
yeah, sorry. But I without rambling on too much, I besides the four of you, or the four of us, I have connected with some other either college friends or high school friends that we may have some things in common that maybe during high school we didn't, but now we do. And that's been very good too. Things like people who I probably didn't really befriend in high school, now I actually talk to, because let's say, as a for instance, we have a connection with autism. So like people that we have that piece where, hey, we can bounce things off of each other, just like the four of us do. And I think that's been really great. And I'd like to I love this relationship. I think we would have gotten together this year if it weren't for the pandemic. I think next year, we're planning on doing that, getting together, the four of us. So, and that's wonderful to look forward to that. Assuming that, Tim's wife lets him out of the house.
Oh, here we go.
Ouch. I think I got the green light, guys, for 2021.
I know,
it's happening.
Put it in now. I will say that, the one thing that I will say that I've always respected, and then we're going to get into, this is the boring, Bud Light commercial that I'm getting to right now. But you're not getting. Might be your dad. But I will get to we're gonna get to the fun stuff in a second here. But that term bros, like, oh, these bros, they're going on golf trips, and it's fine. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with golf trips. But you know the term bro though, right? These guys, it's like they're our age, but they're still basically fraternity guys. And there's nothing wrong with that. I was in a fraternity, you know that. There's nothing wrong with that. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but the one thing that's always been awesome about you guys is that you're not really that stereotype. You've always been gentlemen, in the way just in the way that you've treated other people, minus Mike, of course.
Yeah, there we go.
I was
There's always an
waiting for
exception
that.
to every rule. We know that.
Yeah.
Every group of friends, and the cool thing about the other cool thing I really remember about high school is, even though we were like friends, we were not cliquey. And in fact, I think each one of us almost had like our separate groups of friends. There was some overlap there,
right?
But we had so many kids in our high school that there were a lot of cliques in our high school, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel like any of us were really any cliquey. If I was hanging out with one of you guys and you were hanging out with people that I wasn't necessarily close with, I'd have no issue hanging out with you. You had no issue with. I mean, I think Mike excluded me once for a couple concerts or something. I wasn't cool.
That did not happen.
But no, it didn't happen. But it's one of those things where I felt like we almost had our own separate groups of friends, and then once we got back to our lockers, it was like, oh, it's just we're just hanging out again, and there was never any exclusion. And seriously, and I know this might sound really hokey, but I always felt like the way we treated each other's parents was always very respectful. I feel like the way, and this is important today, and anyone, and all of us that have sons and daughters, right? The way we treated women. Also, you guys could say, at least for you guys, the way we treated women was very important. I mean, I think we were all gentlemen. I was personally scared of girls in high school. I admit that. That was my own issue, but whatever. But it's one of those things where I really always appreciate that, and you're still the same guys today as far as that goes. There are a couple things here, because before we know it, the show's going to end. But I want to just say first off that I would like to formally invite you guys to be recurring guests on the show every once in a while, just to touch base. I think we're entertaining enough. We'll see how the show does. I think people will enjoy it. People, hopefully, I would actually say, if you're watching the show and you either feel inspired to go reach out to somebody that you haven't spoken to in a while, or you feel inspired to say, I'm in a group that I don't want to be part of anymore. Either way, I guess, right? But there have been some common threads, I think, that have really kept us going over the years as well. So all the serious, obviously being there for each other, we enjoy each other's company, all that. But let's face it, there have been some common threads. And I think three of those, and probably in this order: sports, clearly, music, and I'll even say TV to an extent. Not so much food. I don't think. I mean, we go out for pizza or whatever when we were younger. We never really like booze hounds either in high school either.
No.
Which is I hope you enjoyed the first segment of our high school reunion unscripted show. If you had told me a couple of years ago that I would be having some of my nearest and dearest and oldest friends on a podcast that I had created, I would have thought you were crazy. Not because of the duration of time that I've known these guys, but because I thought I could get better guests. But in all seriousness, they did a great job. We had some really good discussions. I'm curious to know how this discussion with my close friends compared to maybe some of the conversations and visits that you've had with some of your old friends. So shoot me an email, contact me on social media. I would love to hear the comparison. These guys are going to come back next week. We have 2 parts. It was way too long because none of us can shut up. That's always been the case. Unscripted, and we went over an hour, so I didn't want to bore you for too long. But we're going to get back next week, and we're going to talk about a number of different things. Chris's red sweatshirt will definitely be the topic of conversation. We are going to talk about yacht rock and how we kind of grew up with that a little bit. If you don't know what yacht rock is, we will explain that to you. Not to insult your intelligence, but some people don't know what it is, and you're probably lucky if you don't know what it is. And then some more embarrassing moments from some high school friends that have known each other for a very, very long time. So I hope you enjoyed it. The first part, I hope you'll join us for the second part. Shenandoah High School, Clifton Park, New York, class of 1993. As we mentioned, the same year as 90210. It was great to talk to these guys, to catch up, to banter back and forth a little bit. And again, join us for the next episode. High School Reunion, Unscripted, Part 2, High in Life Podcast. Follow, share, and like, and we will see you next week.